Hello friends, I am your S.M.Kulkarni sir from D.H. Kauthekar Prashala, Veer Savarkar Par Pandharpur. Today we are going to see a topic which is related to our poetry section. Friends, in our question paper there is section 3, that is question number 3. In question number 3b, there is a question related to critical appreciation of a poem. For critical appreciation, there is 1 mark related to a topic, that is figures of speech. Friends, today we are going to see in detail about figures of speech. In English, there are near about 200 figures of speech, and it is difficult to take each and every figures of speech, but for SSC level we have to study near about 10 figures of speech. In this period we are going to see the information about those 10 figures of speech. First of all, we must know what is meant by figures of speech. Friends, let us imagine if there is any function in your family, we are wearing new attractive clothes. At the same time, your mother, your sister, they are also wearing some ornaments. Why they are using ornaments? To look better, to impress other people. In the same way, in a language, poet or poetess, they are using various ornaments of language to impress the reader, and that ornaments are called figures of speech. Let us see figures of speech in detail. विद्यार्थी मित्र हो, आपल्या क्वेश्चन पेपर मध्ये जो तिसरा प्रश्न आहे, थर्ड बी, या क्वेश्चन मध्ये क्रिटिकल ॲप्रिसिएशन प्रश्नामध्ये 1 मार्काला आपल्याला फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीच हा टॉपिक आहे. आपल्याला फक्त त्या कवितेमध्ये वापरलेलं फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीच 1 लिहा असं सांगितलेलं आहे. पण मित्र हो, आपण 2 फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीच लिहायचे आणि दोन्हीही फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीचला तुम्हाला एक्झाम्पल सुद्धा द्यायचं आहे. तर प्रत्येक युनिट मध्ये असणाऱ्या 2 कविता, एकूण 8 कविता आहेत, आणि या 8 पैकी 8 कवितांमध्ये जे फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीच रिपीट झालेले आहेत, आलेले आहेत, ते 10 फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीच आज आपण या व्हिडिओमध्ये पाहणार आहोत. लेट अस सी फर्स्ट फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीच. Alliteration. What is meant by alliteration? In a sentence, when there is a repetition of sound, it is called alliteration. See, in our question, in our poem, such types of examples are there. For example, travel down the darkened road. In this line, travel down, see, down, and darkened. In sentence number 1, sound D is repeated again and again. When a sound is repeated again and again, this figure of speech is to be known as alliteration. Let us see second example. I want to sow seeds of moon. See, sow and seeds. In this sentence, the sound S is repeated again and again. In short, when a sound is repeated again and again, this figure of speech is to be known as alliteration. Let us see the third example. It puzzled all our kith and kin. In this sentence, sound K is repeated, hence it is alliteration. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. In this line, dark and deep, this dark and deep, here the sound D is repeated. Hence it is known as alliteration. In short, in a sentence, when a sound is repeated again and again, it is called alliteration. If you see the first poem from our syllabus, from first poem to last poem, among 8 out of 8 poems, this figure of speech is there. Every poet has used this figure of speech. Hence, whenever there is a critical appreciation question, that time if you don't know which figure of speech is used, by closing your both eyes, you have to write down alliteration. Because this figure of speech is used by maximum poets, and in our syllabus, in our textbook, all the poets have used this figure of speech. Okay? When the same sound is repeated again and again, it is called alliteration. Now let us see the second figure of speech. The second figure of speech is repetition. Repetition means what? Repeated again and again. Here what we have seen, the sound is repeated. But in repetition figures of speech, a word or more word, that is a single word or 2 or more than 2 words are repeated again and again. When same word is repeated again and again, this figure of speech is to be known as repetition. Friends, what is the difference between alliteration and repetition? In alliteration, just a sound is repeated, but in repetition, the word is repeated again and again. Let us see some of the examples from our textbook. Small, small moons of light. In this sentence, small, small, the word small, this word is repeated 2 times. When a same word is repeated again and again, it is to be known as repetition. Small, small. Oh, pleasant, pleasant were the days. Let us see the sentence. Oh, pleasant, pleasant were the days. Pleasant and pleasant. This word pleasant is repeated again and again. Hence, this figure of speech is to be known as repetition. Let us see the third example. If you can dream and make dream your master. See, here is a dream. Here is also the same word. When a same word is repeated again and again, this figure of speech is to be known as repetition. One more. Oh, heart, heart, heart. Here, the same word is repeated again and again. Hence, it is called repetition. In short, in a figure of speech repetition, same word is repeated again and again. Okay? Let us see the third figure of speech. It is personification. Personification means what? When in a figure of speech, non-human beings are to be imagined as a human beings. For example, animals, plants, flowers, birds, some ideas. They are non-human beings. But these non-human beings are to be imagined as a human being. And such type of people are to be seen in human being. That time we are using the figure of speech. It is called personification. See once again, when non-living things like animals, trees, flowers, birds. These non-human things are to be imagined as a human things. The figure of speech used is personification. Let us see in 9th standard, we have studied the poem, Hope is the thing with feathers. See, hope is the thing with feathers. Now see, hope is the thing with feathers. Here, hope is a non-human being. And this non-human being is to be imagined as a human being. That is why it is personification. The waves are singing a song. Here also the waves. Waves are non-human beings. But it is imagined that they are human beings. And these human beings, that is waves, their waves are singing a song. Hence it is personification. Let us see third one. My horse must think it queer. Actually, horse is a non-human being, but it is imagined that it is a human being. When a non-human being is to be imagined as a human being, the figure of speech used is called personification. Then see last one. Slowly, silently, now the moon walks the night in silver shone. Actually, moon is a non-human being, but it is imagined that it is a human being. Hence it is personification. First of all, we have seen three figures of speech. It is alliteration. In alliteration, the same sound is repeated again and again. In repetition, the word is repeated again and again. In personification, non-human beings are to be imagined as a human being. We will see further. Okay. Now let us see simile. This figure of speech is also very easy to understand. When there is a direct comparison between two kinds of objects having at least one point in common, it is to be known as a simile. In simile, how to identify simile? In simile, the words like as, or the words like, these words are used. See, for example, Kashmir is like a heaven of India. Here, like, when the words like as or like are there in a given sentence, the figure of speech used is simile. Here, Kashmir is like a heaven of India. Actually, Kashmir is different and heaven is different. But the beauty of Kashmir is to be compared with a heaven. And that is why Kashmir is like a heaven of India. It is simile. Okay? Couched in his kennel like a dog. The word like is here. It is simile. He is as funny as a barrel of monkeys. Here the word as is used. It is simile. He is as brave as a lion. In this sentence also, the word as is used. It is called simile. In short, in simile, there is a direct comparison between two things which are different with one another, but having at least one quality common. How to identify the figures of speech simile? In figures of speech simile, the word like, as or like are used. Let us see the next figure of speech. It is metaphor. It is also like simile, but what is different between metaphor and simile? In simile, there is a direct comparison, but here in metaphor, there is indirect comparison between two kinds of things having at least one of the qualities same. it is called as metaphor. In simile, there is like or as such types of words are used, but in metaphor, such types of words are not used. Let us see example. Metaphor: the camel is the sheep of the desert. Here camel is called a sheep, and that is why it is a metaphor. The camel is the sheep of the desert. It is metaphor. The sea is our mother. Actually, if there is a comparison between mother and sea, like the sea is like our mother, it is simile. But here it is imagined that the sea is our mother, and that is why it is metaphor. The waves are our comrades. Here the waves are our comrades. This is metaphor. Time is money. Actually, we are saying time is like a money. It is simile. But when we say time is money, it is metaphor. So once again see a slight difference between simile and metaphor. In simile, the construction like as or like such types of words are used. It is simile. It is direct comparison between two things. Here metaphor, the words like as or like, these words are not used, and there is also comparison, but it is indirect comparison. Let us see the next figures of speech. Inversion. Basically in English, for prose, there is a construction that is S plus V plus O. In prose section, there is a construction S plus V plus O, but many a times poets are not following those rules. They are called poetic rights. Every poet has a right to construct the sentence according to his own skill, his own idea. And in such a cases, when the construction of a sentence is not according to proper rules and regulations of grammar, it is not according to the prose category S plus V plus O, this figure of speech is to be known as inversion. In order to have a proper rhyme scheme, in order to have proper intonation, stress, poets are constructing the sentences. They are not following the particular pattern of prose S plus V plus O, hence the figure of speech is called inversion. In our many poems, such type of inversions are there, you have to find out. The next is hyperbole. Hyperbole means when there is an exaggeration. Many times exaggeration is used. ज्याला आपण मराठीमध्ये अतिशयोक्ती असं म्हणतो. मुंगी उडाली आकाशी, तिने गिळले सूर्याशी. या ठिकाणी आपण एखाद्या वेळेस एखाद्या गोष्टीची अति माहिती सांगतो, अतिशयोक्ती करतो. It is called hyperbole. In short, exaggeration. When there is an exaggeration or overstatement, it is called as